What time does Haley go to the doctor?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No. She could be there right now.
Being told to go to the hospital and have a baby.
I think
and you're here instead.
I think around 2:30.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
But yeah, there's going to be no news. They're going to schedule the induction.
For hopefully Friday.
Yeah, for hopefully Friday.
But y'all have a go bag ready.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody has a go bag.
Yeah, go bag. We've got the nurses' gifts ready.
Nurses' gifts?
Yeah, you didn't know?
They took care of us for 5 days in COVID, and I didn't get anybody a gift.
Wow. We're overly prepared.
Yeah.
We've got the gifts ready. We're ready to roll.
What do you get for a nurse?
I don't know.
What is the gift? Gum?
I think she might have gotten like a Target gift card.
You don't even know these people yet.
I don't even know what's in the gifts.
But what I'm saying is you don't know these nurses. You don't know these women.
We don't know how many there are.
There's a lot.
I think what's going to happen is they're going to find out that gifts are being handed out in here, and then we're going to run out of gifts.
You're going to have some more nurses. Okay, but you need to like which nurses? Because there's like delivery nurses, and then there's the nurses in the recovery room. Ideally, you're only there for like a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
So they don't deserve a gift.
That's, like, you're not doing gifts there. You're doing gifts for, like, your 24 hours in the hospital, the people that come check on you every 3 hours. So
I'm glad that we had this conversation because I might have to be the gatekeeper of the gifts, you know?
I'll wait till the end. Like, post-birth... in the recovery room, a nurse that she's known for 5 minutes.
Oprah Winfrey.
You've been so sweet. Let me just, here you go. No. Not that we don't love a delivery nurse and a recovery nurse.
Yeah.
They are important. But like, you know, I had to go to ICU. Should I have given her a gift? Probably. She saw me at my worst.
Yeah.
And then there was the NICU nurses. What if you have to go to NICU for some reason? There's another batch of gifts that you don't have. Where did nurse gifts come from? Is this something she saw on Pinterest? Is this a thing that's happening?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah.
Is this just Haley giving gifts?
I think it's just Haley. I think it's something that people do, but it's also just a Haley thing to do, you know?
Definitely
she's a gift giver. Thing to do. She's thoughtful beyond herself. So you picked the perfect time to start a podcast.
Did I? While you're having a baby?
Well, I mean, you're familiar with pregnancy sympathy syndrome.
What is?
It's where the husband suffers from similar symptoms of pregnancy.
Yeah,
you know?
Where the rage hormones are coursing through your veins. And last week you were nesting in the office. You were like pulling boxes that have been in your office storing we don't know what for we don't know how long out of your office and getting rid of them. And I was like, oh my God, Tim's nesting.
Pulling everything out.
We found some curtain rods that we don't even know what they're for.
Yeah, sending things to storage, but mostly dealing with pregnancy brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being tired.
Yeah, I can't remember words or names or things that I need.
I think you're doing pretty good with words right now.
We've recovered a little bit over the weekend, but there's been a couple times in the past week where I've just been stuck in the middle of a sentence and gone. I give up. You know, I'm good.
On that note, let's do an hour-long podcast.
Yeah, it's been mid-thought in the fact that I'm talking to somebody and I'll just stop and be like, I'm not going to try to recover.
Yeah.
That sentence is done.
That's done.
Yeah.
That's what that thought is.
Yeah.
That's the end of it. That's the best it's going to be.
So it is a real thing for all the husbands out there.
What's it called again? Pregnancy sympathy
syndrome?
Syndrome.
I don't know if that's what it's actually called. I just made that up.
Made up. You guys are having a baby, possibly today, possibly while we're recording this.
Yeah.
And Haley will never forgive you. Your phone is not on Do Not Disturb.
It's on focus.
I feel like you should have your phone on.
Do Not
It's okay. We can edit it out.
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like
you should have your phone on.
I agree.
I would be so pissed if I was having a baby. contractions 6 minutes apart, and my husband's phone is going straight to voicemail. Don't you have her as like an emergency? Can't she get through?
I don't know that I've set that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
There's still things that I'm learning about the iPhone. So.
Yeah. Yeah. On the eve of iPhone 16.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should probably talk about
short-term rentals.
Yeah.
And real estate in general.
And real estate in general.
Yeah, Kristen, can you give us a little intro for our man Tim here?
Who am I to you?
All right, so you are Tim. You were hired on in 2019.
Yeah, November 2019.
November 2019.
Unofficially.
Unofficially, at the time, I was pregnant. That's when I was pregnant. And I needed help setting up 5 Airbnbs in Berry Hill that were going to go live January?
Yeah, January, February.
We already had 12 Airbnbs. We weren't managing them yet, but we were going to take over March 1. So it was going to be like an automatic, like 2020, 18 short-term rentals just on board immediately. So you were helping me set up 5. We set up 5, built out the listings, got them ready.
We got them ready. We got them furnished. We didn't really know what my job description was at that point. It was just kind of helping out. And you said you should get your real estate license in case this doesn't work out. And I said, okay, that's kind of scary. But it went hand in hand with what we were building. We started managing the short-term rentals beginning in January. And by the end of March, we were going into COVID.
No, I feel like middle March.
Yeah.
Because we like took on the 12. We started Host Away, which was a platform where you can manage and push the Airbnbs, the short-term rentals to Airbnb, Vrbo, multiple booking sites. Really excited. We had bookings to like March 1, we had bookings that were going in like August, September, October. I feel like it was the first week of March 2020 where they started dropping. Because the tornado.
Right.
That was first week of March 2020 was a shitstorm. And I remember Sicily had just started.
Shout out Sicily.
First day of work, I'm like, you're going on a Costco run with me. You need to know what we're getting at Costco, what we're doing. Costco run's a good way to break in. The new kid, so she and I go to Costco eve of the tornadoes in 2020, and we get like 3 Costcos of toilet paper, paper towels, Lysol wipes, all the good shit that a week from then
was gone.
None of it. And I think like our office lived off of that toilet paper for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a wild, unfortunate timing of events for us because it was for January, February. We hadn't even gotten Berry Road listed. I think our management of the Charlesville downtown turned over in February. So our first bookings were the first week of March. So we hadn't produced any revenue to this point. And we went into March and the tornado happened, which fortunately didn't affect any of our properties specifically. But in turn, it canceled, I think, a couple shows that were supposed to happen that people needed to cancel. And then the following week, we rolled into the federal government
COVID 2020
mandating,
nobody
shutdowns.
Leaves the house. Nobody goes to the grocery store.
Right, and therefore refunding hundreds of thousands of dollars of reservations throughout the year. And we were kind of looking at each other going, okay, like, here we are. So we have 18 Airbnbs that we've got to figure out how to produce revenue.
And we're losing 6 months worth of reservations.
Right.
I mean, I feel like that morning I'm like looking at my phone, which was getting text notifications. It was just like, Joe canceled, Lindsay canceled, XYZ, like just constant. And I was like, I'm going to put my phone on silent and just let everybody cancel.
Right.
Because we don't know what. And it continued like that for a couple of months of just like, Because remember when we thought that like COVID would really just be a couple weeks,
Right.
and we would just
And also it was so early, and it was in the beginning phases of it, where as hosts we're looking at this as like we have a cancellation policy, therefore some of this revenue should be kept, etc. And then Airbnb steps in and they say everything's being refunded, and at that point we knew, okay, this is completely out of our hands.
Yeah.
And also, how long is this going to last?
Yeah.
Now I don't know how long it lasted. How long did the pandemic last?
I think it's still the pandemic. I think we just had a COVID surge.
Right. We got into April, right?
Yeah.
We had some revenue in March because we had a couple functioning, we had a couple operating weeks.
Yeah.
And then comes April, and we're really in the grips of, okay, we have empty units. We can't. No, everyone's scared to travel. No one's trusting anything. There's new sanitation policies, and cleanliness policies on Airbnb that you can opt into, but who the hell knows if you're following them?
Right.
Actually, are you walking around and wiping every doorknob in your house? Yes, that was direction to our cleaners.
Right.
But also as a guest, are you going to trust people? Likely not. So we didn't see reservations.
I wouldn't have gone anywhere if I could.
Yeah. So what did we do? We, the only thing we could do, right? We dropped prices to see if we can, get some month-to-month renters going.
And we got a few.
And we also got a few stories as well.
We have in our bathroom downstairs, have you seen our bad reviews? We have a lot of those bad reviews came in COVID, but we have printed and framed our bad reviews, and Kenethia is the one I can see across from the toilet. So I read hers a few times a day and think about her and how she rented out our 3-bedroom house over here in Berry Hill.
There were dryer sheets hanging from the ceiling.
Oh my God. Why? I don't know. Don't want to know.
To hide the smoke,
To hide the smoke smell where the floor was used as an ashtray.
Yeah.
But she was in there for maybe less than a month, but almost a month for like $1,100.
Yeah.
And we were like, great, we'll take your $1,100, do what you want. And then I can't remember how it came to be that we were like, bye.
I think she only booked.
She only
about
booked
a
for
month.
like and then she was gone. I
Yeah.
feel like she wanted to renew or something, and we were like, nah, no way.
Yeah.
And then we got in there, and it was like within a month, just multiple humans chain smoking inside. The floor was used as an ashtray. We're like repainting walls. You can't even get Airbnb to get her the money. The credit card's not working. She's nowhere to be found, but she left us a review.
Great place.
1 star.
Yeah, but great place.
Great place.
Yeah, that was the first time trying to file an Airbnb claim for smoke smell, and Airbnb said no problem. If you would, just provide us a photo of the smoke smell, and we'll get this reimbursed. And we didn't get reimbursed for that.
No, we didn't.
No.
But I think I did take a picture of a wall.
We took a picture of a wall and
and say
submitted
it
it.
smells like smoke.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Submit a picture of the smoke smell.
Yeah.
Who said that?
Yeah. I don't know, but this was very early on in the claims process, and
We've gotten a lot better at those claims.
Well, it's just evolved, and it continues to. So keeping up with that is super important, because things that you could claim on previous bookings no longer is the case. Airbnb constantly is updating.
And I feel like
policies.
Airbnb was on its own kind of struggle bus, unrelated to all of the hosts they support. Because I remember within a month or so, whenever some point early COVID, it was like headlines, Airbnb let go of a third of its staff. So it's like they can't even support themselves. They can't support us. And that's probably when we turned to like, all right, let's do some furnished rentals.
Right, which was still difficult. I think in April of 2020, we had, I remember looking at the spreadsheet, and it was something like $2,400 between 18 units. So it was safe to say that nobody was getting paid.
No.
And that's when you decided to furlough me, for a couple months,
Yeah.
right? You know, and it was like peak pandemic period. So what did I do? I played 27 holes of golf on a closed golf course practically every day that was in my backyard. Shout out McCabe.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Alex, your husband, out there one day and kind of going, I didn't really tell Kristen I was playing today, you know, but also
I'm furloughed.
I'm furloughed, but
so
I still kind of work. I don't
Yeah.
know, you know, and it was just such a weird time. But we started to pick back up, I guess, with long term. I think it was August before we really had some decent
like real people
occupancy
that
of
needed furnished rentals for
Right.
whatever reason.
right. Yeah, because the pandemic really brought out
The worst
the
kind
worst
of people.
kind of people and
Yeah.
guests. In fact, you know, for Berry Hill, I was over there with not much to do, but time to fill. So I was checking on the properties as we were over the weekend. We had a couple guests, and I noticed we don't allow pets at any of our
Not at that time.
Not at that time
Yeah.
at any of our Airbnbs. And there was some kitty litter poured outside, some fresh kitty litter poured outside right beside the front door of one of our Airbnbs. And I was like, that's interesting, which we only had 2 groups of guests at this time. So I knocked on both, and one was this older lady who had just had surgery at Vanderbilt University. And, you know, and she said, no, I don't have my cat, and et cetera. And then I go to the next door and I knock on the door and they open, and I'm just hit with this wave of cigarette smoke, and I'm like, okay, these are my guys, you know, and
Cigarette smoke, must have a cat.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the guy on the reservation's name, but we'll call him John. And I said, hey, is John here? I need to talk to him. And this guy said, oh, I'm not John, but I can go get him. And so he comes downstairs with another person. And I said, oh, you must be John. They said, no, I'm not John, but he's upstairs showering. We can get him. This continued to happen until we had about 8 different people come downstairs. Now, we only allow 6 guests at this house.
Right.
So we're already smoking. We have more people than we should.
And
there's-
probably a cat.
And probably a cat somewhere in the house. And I'm looking around, and there's just, you know, just stuff. And clocks have been taken apart. There's
Clocks?
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
like batteries have been pulled out of
Okay.
things. Like batteries are being taken apart. Wires are kind of like hanging loose of
What?
things. And finally, I get everyone downstairs, but there's still one person showering upstairs, and this keeps like there's this revolving door of showering upstairs, and I let them know, you know, hey guys, like I have nowhere to be. This is my job. I'm gonna hang out until we get everybody down here, and we search the place for a cat. And they said we don't have a cat. And I said, great, we're just gonna take a look upstairs. And so we walk upstairs, and the first closet that I open has a bag of kitty litter.
Yeah.
And I pulled it out and I held it up, and they said, well, we had to get rid of our cat at the last house.
But we kept the kitty litter.
But we kept the
But
kitty
we
litter.
totally left our cat on the street.
Right.
No big deal, no cats here.
So
Yeah.
I check one bedroom, and there's no signs of cat, nobody, but someone showering in the other bedroom. And I tell them, yeah, no problem. And it was pretty clear to me that she wasn't showering. She was just running the shower. And so I acted as if I was walking away, and I turned around real quick, and I opened the door, and they were hiding the cat in a closet. And the guy looked at me, and he goes, man, you got us. And I was like, yeah.
No,
yeah.
like I had you when I found the kitty litter outside.
Yeah, we had you a long time
And then
ago.
I had you again when I opened the door and you're smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
And then I had you again when you had 8 people in here. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you've been got. Like, let's
Yeah.
go.
So, you know, where did these people meet each other? They met each other on Facebook, and they were,
And said, let's get our cat and
Yeah.
go rent an Airbnb.
yeah, and they, you know, we proceeded. I called Will to come, you know, kind of be backup to me, because
Yeah.
the guy walks out with, you know, a knife hanging from his gym shorts to, I think, intimidate me.
Sure.
And Will comes over, and we're hanging out watching these people load up 3 cars, vans of items that they had moved in for a 3-night stay. You know, so needless to say, it was an interesting time
With
to be
interesting people.
in property management.
Yeah.
You know,
And that was like your first.
that was my first eviction.
Yeah, but that was like all that is happening in your first like 6 months to a year of this job.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, I'll sign up for more of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, it's kind of fun.
Just kind of fun. And that was, so Boxwood started May 2019. So you start November 2019, COVID a few months later.
Yeah.
That's Boxwood's first year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Kenethia was in Boxwood's first year.
yeah, that is wild.
And that's 5 years ago now.
Well, one, we've almost doubled in size of short-term rentals. I think at one point we did have 36, and we've cut back a couple, or we've had a couple owners that have sold.
Shave the fat a little bit.
Right, and my day-to-day has continued to change as we have changed. At the beginning, we outsourced cleaning, so a lot of my job was ensuring the quality. I was our maintenance guy for the first year, which was interesting.
Learn some things.
I learned some things, and I learned that I can't do some things.
Yep.
And I learned what I needed to outsource and what I needed to try to do myself, which I'm glad to say now that I can outsource pretty much everything, because I'm decently handy, but I am by no means a repairman.
Yeah. I've had to be the handyman before, and like if it's an easy, quick thing, like I'll be the handyman. Not worth like maintenance requests, scheduling, whatever. The last time I was really the handyman was Christmas, when you were like, I'm going to Thailand for the whole holiday season.
Should I answer that? That's my wife.
Yeah, you got to.
You gotta take it.
Hello? Okay.
No baby?
No baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, I was maintenance. We were doing financials together. We were doing quality checks. We were communicating with the cleaners. We were, doing guest messaging, onboarding, furnishing, design for a couple Airbnbs. We were an all-inclusive, one-stop shop, but
We still are.
we still are.
We just got more bodies.
We have more bodies and
Yeah.
are more well equipped. So really, the only thing that's changed is we've brought cleaning in house, which is fantastic.
That's been like 2 years now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're about to complete our second year, which is incredible. Our cleaners are amazing. The majority of them have worked with us or with us for
In some capacity for like
Close to 4
5
years, yeah.
If not even more, because I feel like before Boxwood existed, when I had outsourced short-term rental management,
yeah.
the cleaners, I want to say Joseph and Emily were there. There were some different faces then, but I
Yeah.
feel like I met Joseph and Emily before Boxwood was a thing.
Yeah.
And to have sort of grown up and developed our own system
Right.
and relationship and what's it called? The symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, like a synergy.
Synergy. I was going more biology, but synergy sounds great.
Yeah. Well, we just recognized that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Because the days of me getting up at midnight and going to change a pair of sheets that hadn't been properly changed by,
Who knows
a cleaner
who? Yeah.
that we were trusting,
Right.
were over, or they were coming to an end because I was
You were
working.
run ragged.
I was
when we
run-
were like
yeah.
outsourcing cleaning for more money, plus you cleaning at midnight.
Plus me cleaning and then still paying.
Right.
It was such.
Right.
It was an abusive relationship.
Yeah. So that was the opposite of
Yeah.
synergy. But in 2 years, that's really
So we thought we need to bring cleaning, or we need
do
to
this our own.
We need to put it under
like
our
if Tim's
umbrella.
gonna clean, then Tim's gonna clean,
Right.
and it's all gonna be in house.
Right.
Yeah.
But also let's know our cleaners. Let's make this more of a streamlined position for Boxwood,
Yeah.
where we're not having to depend on everyone else to do their job. We know that we're going to do our job, and it's
Yeah.
going to be done right, and we don't need me to go around and pick
No.
up after people and constantly be texting people and paying money that, shouldn't be paid, because we
No.
value.
And I feel like the guys and girls we have now, like, we're for them.
Right.
And they're for us. Like, we are, like, they want to see Boxwood do well, and we want to see them do well, whether it's with us or not, but they keep showing up here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. With that, and then Caleb bringing in our maintenance division.
Yeah.
Shout out Caleb, the glue that holds all of the Airbnbs together. Like literally.
Literally the glue.
Yeah, literally the glue.
Maybe the screws.
And my savior, because the anxiety of having to patch a hole and do it right, it was so bad. It was just so bad, and I'm so happy to have him. Because when I saw his patch versus my patchwork, I go, wow. I was like,
What was I doing?
yeah, I was like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
I was like, I probably owe the owner money, but we're good there. What else has changed? We've taken on more Airbnbs. We've lost a couple Airbnbs. We've grown not only in the short-term rental business, but we've grown
The
for
long-term
long-term.
rental business, how many do you get your hands on that you're managing?
I was counting the other day. I have currently 11
Okay.
in my quote-unquote portfolio.
Yeah. We have, our platform says we've got 80 live, but I haven't done like a door-by-door count because some of those are multiple, like one building, multiple doors. So I think between 80 and 100. And I don't know what we were 5 years ago.
We were under 50.
I think we were under 25.
Yeah, that's wild.
If not at 25.
Yeah.
It felt like a lot, but to say like coming up on 100, and which would be impossible without solid cleaning crew for turnovers. And they know how to do that. They can change sheets on an Airbnb and go right to cleaning out behind a stove and sanitizing a place, getting it ready for somebody to come live there for 2 years.
Right.
And would have been impossible without maintenance as well. I was asking Caleb, because we were using him like, hey, like you don't work here, but do you have time to go do this thing? He had another job that was done at like 3 every day.
Right.
And one day I was just like, how much money would you have to make to come here and just do this all the time? And I think we hired him on before we even had full-time work for him, just because I was like, it's here, it's coming. And now we have a second backup maintenance guy coming by after his 3 o'clock job ends.
Yeah, that could potentially be a full-time position soon. It's exciting. It's been fun, right?
Yeah.
Prior to Boxwood, I was a credit analyst for Ford Credit Company, which incredible company, incredible people, but boy, was it boring. And just not a fit for me. I remember you said, hey, why don't you come try out property management? I think you texted me, said, would you be interested in trying it out? And at that point I said, yeah, I don't really have much to lose at this point. I'll give it a shot. And, if it doesn't work out, you still have your real estate license, right?
Yeah.
Like that was the idea. Then you're going to have your real estate license. And it's just kind of been the perfect storm of, we work well together. Everyone that works at Boxwood works well together.
Yeah.
That's what we care about. Making money while being happy. I mean, that's
It's like a double happy for me.
that's the end game, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel very strongly about creating an environment, a space. Like our office is cute, and like I want a place people want to go to work, and I want the vibes to be right, and you can tell.
But it's been a good revolution. I don't feel like it all happened at once. It's like a little bit changes every year. We're just continuing to evolve to the market, which I think is going to continue to change in the short-term rental market.
I know. I want to talk about that, like short-term rental market changes, like because I feel like you weren't even in it 5 seconds before COVID happened. And that was a major shift in short-term rentals, which evolved in its own ways. Like I remember it before, COVID. I even remember it, I want to say like 15 years ago, I was selling some condos downtown, and I remember this lady was like, I'm going to buy like 5, and I'm going to make them vacation rentals. And I was like,
Yeah.
big, like what old people book Florida condos on? That lady, like within a couple of years of that, like took her family, lived in Spain for a few years because just...
It took off.
It took off, and Nashville took off. I feel like that's when the Bachelorettes were coming, and she and anyone else that got into vacation rentals back then, we had no rules.
Right.
They were like the city and the HOAs and everybody, they're making up rules as we go, as we learn, because it wasn't till 2020 really that it was like, okay, you can't have Airbnbs in residential zoning anymore. And like we knew that change was coming, and sort of that's how we set up the 12 downtown and the 5 in Berry Hill. Was like, okay, we know they're going to squash residential zoning soon. Berry Hill has its own zoning. Downtown has its own zoning. Like our short-term rentals will be safe here. Like even from when that lady got hers and I saw what it did to her life, and to me starting my first one in 2017, because that was a good 10 years. 2017 was amazing. 2018 was amazing.
Yeah.
These places killed it. Now I feel like we had COVID and we kept doing Airbnbs, and Nashville kept building, and we've kept building them in commercial zoning. People are still building them, still selling them, but I feel like we're way oversaturated.
Sure.
I don't know if the ones that we manage and the ones that we see, will see the numbers that we were seeing before COVID. Again, we're adapting to a different kind of market, but I don't think we'll see those numbers again.
I definitely have to agree just based off the numbers. I would like the market to be better.
Sure.
Right?
Of course.
Because...
Wouldn't every short-term rental owner everywhere?
Yeah, happier owners, is always the end goal here is, to make as much money for our owners as possible. But with the market, as it is, you just look at on every corner, new Airbnbs are being built. And at what point are there too many?
Too many.
Right?
I feel like we're there.
Yeah.
I feel like we're there. When our numbers, it's a minimal decrease year over year because we're a basic model. Mm-hmm. We're some basic Airbnbs that anyone can rent for regular prices. We're not crazy. We're not Bachelorette Central. We're not over the top prices. We're not over the top rentals. Like you're not walking into our rentals like in an Instagram world.
Right.
If we were a hotel, I'd give us like a Hampton Inn.
Sure.
Yeah. Like you'll go there.
Yeah, something middle of the market.
It's good. We're good. It's clean.
Right.
It's a good price.
Yeah.
Just knowing that we are that and we try to hit that mark, seeing our numbers year over year just like a smidge lower, tells me we got too much going on out there.
Yeah.
It'll
be interesting to see what happens, right? I don't think we're primed for any sort of collapse or anything. But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Not all owners' situations are created equal.
Right.
And you saw that, between 2020 and 2024, where we are now, interest rates are at a 5% difference.
Right.
Or they were at one point.
We're
we've come back down a little bit. But there are owners that exist out there with mortgages that exceed the means of the gross revenue or the net revenue that are being produced by their monthly rental income. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, because in my opinion, in just looking at the market in the last year of short-term rentals that aren't necessarily brand new that have hit the market,
right,
more and more are hitting the market. I'm seeing more and
like
more.
For sale, the market for sale, not the Airbnb market.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm caught up.
Yeah.
That you see a listing and you're like, that used to be Airbnb.
Yeah. And what was it purchased for 3 years ago in 2020?
And what's it for sale now? As a non-owner occupied short-term rental.
Right. There's a lot of business that is being advertised in a way that I don't necessarily agree with. And I think we have to be careful with what we tell owners. Some of these Airbnbs are capable of producing.
Right. I feel like there's, in the same way that like Airbnb didn't have the rules and whatever, I feel like lenders are getting better at understanding how Airbnb works. But in the same way that you and I with our real estate license, Hugo wants us to sell his house. He's like, what is it worth? We have these ethical, professional, and like a real metric on how to measure what his house is worth and what we can sell it for. And like metrics that he could check, that he could then take to the next real estate agent over and say, is this right? Yeah, probably within a couple $1,000s. I feel like there's still not a good metric for measuring the income that a short-term rental should see. That when we're talking to owners like, oh yeah, you should do this much net per year, no problem, that you're gonna get, if you call 5 different people, you're gonna get 5 different metrics.
Right.
If we're selling a house, we've got ethical, professional, and set metrics that we're going to use. I'm going to start with a CMA, a comparative market analysis on the sales on a similar home in a similar neighborhood in a similar time. And I've got the tools to do that every other real estate agent in Nashville is also using. So we're all going to come up with the same answer at the same time. If I need to double check myself, I've got tax records to see more sales, off-market sales, more information. If I really doubt myself, there's an appraiser that I can pay a few $100s to come do a sales appraisal. And we're all gonna come up with that same-ish number. I don't feel that way, that there is any way to accurately measure or predict the numbers that an Airbnb is going to produce this month, this year. We've got last year's history. If we wanted to sell it, we could say, look, for the last 5 years, it's averaged this, but we have hard numbers.
Yeah.
But we see a lot of people selling brand new short-term rentals that haven't proved anything, new construction. They've never had somebody stay in them. They don't even have furniture yet, but we're guessing it will make this much.
Yeah.
Based on what?
Yeah.
And there's no, I don't feel like there's an ethical, professional standard for that based on what, unless you go ahead and get that commercial appraisal. But I don't think people aren't ready to pull the trigger for a commercial appraisal, but we don't have I can't see the tax records of what your Airbnb did last month.
Right. Right. So what's you're commonly seeing in the marketplaces or Airbnbs are for sale, and they have different documents attached. And these are sometimes able to be viewed by anybody, or sometimes they're privately able to be viewed by agents. And a lot of them are pro formas, but also you can have property disclosures, etc. in these documents, right? But the pro forma is the most important piece here. And this is the question that I always have for an agent when calling about them, because there have been, I do represent a couple clients that are interested in, hey, if there's an Airbnb for a decent price and the numbers make sense, I'd like to buy it. And I said, well, let's make the numbers make sense, right? And so we look at the pro forma, and some of these pro formas are $108,000 gross revenue a year. And they've shown these numbers since 2020, and I'm going, wow, this is incredible. In fact, in one instance earlier this year, I'm looking at the pro forma for an Airbnb that I manage the exact layout of an Airbnb in the exact same complex. And they're averaging $105,000 a year in gross revenue. And we're averaging $55,000.
That's a big diff.
So, and that's gross revenue, right? So they're netting around 55, according to their spreadsheets that they provided. And so my first question to the agent that, represents their buyer or their sellers is, is this pro forma actual, or what are these numbers?
Yeah.
And not a single case have I been told that these are the actual numbers.
Right.
Right. So the numbers have to make sense for the investor.
Right.
And what people that are selling their places are recognizing is that the numbers don't make sense for the price that these houses are being listed for, just in the market currently, right? Because interest rates are so high. Unless you're paying all cash for this deal, can we make these numbers work?
Not with a mortgage.
Right. Yeah. So for instance, I had a guy call me recently who was actually looking at an Airbnb that we manage, and he's saying, okay, it's listed at this amount, and I'm going to put half down on it. And we look at the numbers, and I say, well, just based off the current interest rates, would you agree that your mortgage is going to be around $4,000 a month? And he said yes. And I said, okay, well, let's look at what I believe this Airbnb is going to produce over the year. And his net revenue wasn't going to cover his mortgage.
Right.
And that's just a conservative look at it,
Right.
And I'm explaining to him, and I don't think he's hearing me, or I don't know if I'm not explaining it well enough, but I think we finally got there because he didn't call me back. And I'm okay having that conversation, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not here to run off business.
No.
But I'm not here to mislead people.
No, because eventually that business will be gone anyway. Next year, when you haven't produced what that pro forma said it would produce, you're getting fired anyway.
Right.
You might have got paid some,
Right.
but you're getting fired.
Right.
And that's not the business I'm in for sure. And I feel like the reason some of our older short-term rentals that we've had in the portfolio for a while do so well, one, they were built and mortgaged before the cost of doing those things was what it is today. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, what we encourage a lot of people to do, don't get into it unless you're comfortable with the long-term rent this would produce. Mm-hmm. Because if Airbnb just disappears, Vrbo disappears, people don't travel ever again. COVID, that kind of COVID pandemic type shuts us down again. We need to be sure that renting this out long-term is also beneficial to you.
Right.
And a lot of these places, I feel like sometimes I'll do a pro forma and then I'll do a side-by-side long-term rental pro forma, unfurnished, not paying the light bill, whatever. And that long-term rental pro forma spits out more money than the short-term rental, just because the expenses. I feel like on a good day, on a working short-term rental, you want to see 40% as your expenses. So you got your gross, 40% of that is expenses. Keeping the lights on, good Wi-Fi, keeping it clean, keeping supplies stocked.
Paying a management company.
Paying a management company that knows what they're doing. You want to see 40% of that gross. Mm-hmm.
And depending on the management company, I've seen it can be up to a quarter of your gross revenue, right? So it's, can the numbers make sense currently? And I haven't been able to make sense of a lot of them. But, there are still people in the market that are purchasing them.
Right.
I've talked to people that are not in great situations currently. They're dealing with large property management companies
that don't care.
Yep, they've signed a contract. They are charging close to a quarter of their gross revenue, and then on top of that, they're getting hit with maintenance charges. Mm-hmm. They're getting hit with just unforeseen, to an owner that's not knowledgeable in any of this, unforeseen expenses.
Yeah.
And then their payout comes at the end of the month, and they've got a check for less than $500 and a mortgage of, $2,800,
Right.
$2,900.
We have some of those conversations where it's just like, are we not charging enough with our maintenance?
Right.
Or are people getting just blindly ripped off?
Right.
Maybe somewhere in between.
Yeah, somewhere in between. And, we're in the market of producing for our owners so
Right.
that our owners are in the best positions. And that's part of having a real estate license. We're here to represent the best interest of our owners, our
Right.
clients,
Right.
whether that be buyers, sellers, our owners of properties. We are here to represent their best interest. In doing so, I'm not a financial advisor. Right. So there also draws the question of where do we draw the line of these pro formas? If we're not providing actual numbers for buyers of short-term rentals, what lines are being crossed essentially? I can see it both ways, right? People want to see.
There's people out there that want to take a loss.
Right.
Like, I've got so much going on over here that I need a couple properties taking a loss this year so that my personal bottom line looks this way. In that case, fine, sign us up. But you come at me with, this is my one and only property. This is my whole investment. Like, this is all we have. No.
Yeah.
I will not help you lose money.
Right.
That's not what we're doing here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've gotten to a place where it has been that conversation. I will say at the beginning, I will take anything and everything
Sure.
that's thrown at
Sure.
me. But now it's more of a conversation of, are we suited best for you? Are we able to help? Is our vision aligned with each other and our expectations align? Because that's something that I don't want to start this relationship out on the wrong foot.
Right.
I don't want to make false promises.
I don't want to start a relationship out by lying to you
Right.
to get your business.
Right.
Yeah. And so in that vein, when you're having these conversations, you finally go look at a property. What do you feel like, what are the properties that are best suited to do well on the short-term rental market?
Historically, in the past, 5 years that we've been doing this, I think, the 2-bedroom, 2-bath, the best performers.
Yeah.
Studios in the downtown area are going to do well, depending on the purchase price. But 2-bedroom, 2-bath are our top performers overall.
That surprises me because I kept feeling like it would be the 1-bedrooms, the studios and the 1-bedrooms. Top performer year round, because that's essentially a hotel room. Hotel rooms always book.
And and also it's one of these things that it's a little bit of extra space, that is still able to, that's still affordable, depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
But we also see some well-performing houses that are 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 3 bath. With rooftops, and that's a huge
we love a rooftop.
But as far as looking at houses with owners, making sure that the investment makes sense if it had to be converted to a long-term rental, is priority over does it function well as a short-term rental to me. Because if it functions well as a long-term rental, then it's going to function well as a short-term rental.
Then we're going to be fine. I feel like when I first got into it, I felt like, Nashville is a city of these larger concentric circles. When I first got into the short-term rental stuff, it felt like Old Hickory Boulevard being that larger circle around the outside of Nashville. Like, if you had a short-term rental in that bubble, you were a Nashville short-term rental. Anything out and you're like cabin in the woods, whatever, some other special thing. But if you're inside that Old Hickory circle, you're going to do well with a short-term rental. And then I feel like within just a few years, it was like, okay, if you're inside the 440,
right? Yeah, it's shrinking. Yeah.
And now I feel like it's even a little bit smaller. To be considered a Nashville rental, outside of that bubble, you got to pull out your special.
Right.
special stops.
Right. And, and what neighborhood are you in and how walkable is it?
Right.
And, how easy is it to get downtown? Is it a mile walk to downtown versus is it a mile and a half is a huge difference.
Yeah.
Do people want to walk 30 minutes versus 20? A lot of people, that 20-minute mark is kind of it, right? They're going to start taking.
I love the tone of the reviews sometimes. I was flipping through reviews on, I think, some stuff in Berry Hill recently. I can't remember why, but I'm flipping through reviews and it's like, you've got one review that's like 6-minute Uber downtown. It was so great, so easy. And then you like scroll a little bit and you're like, Ubers took forever downtown. And you're like, so it really, preference for who's, whoever's there. But also like, if you don't want to wait 6 minutes in an Uber, you need to spend that money and get down there.
To be downtown,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And also when looking at, so back to the long-term rental versus short-term rental, right? It not always is the case that if it's going to do well long-term rental, it can be a short-term rental, right? It needs to be in the right area, needs those things, walkability, all of that plays a huge part.
Yeah.
But really what I'm saying by that is, for instance, some short-term rentals are not real 3-bedroom, 2-baths.
Like when you're booking.
Right.
Yeah.
Some of them are really 2-bedroom with an additional office
with a third
space.
bed.
Yeah,
somewhere.
it's still a bedroom because it has a closet and it has a window.
And so now we're not looking at 3-bedroom short-term rental versus 3-bedroom long-term rental.
Right.
We're looking at 3-bedroom short-term rental versus 2-bedroom long-term rental, and that's
Right.
completely different.
And the reason why it doesn't work is because there's attached bathrooms in both of the bedrooms that are on the 3rd floor, and then your supposed 3rd bedroom is on the 1st floor, and that person
No bathroom.
Yeah, that person has
Yeah.
no bathroom or would have to interrupt other people to go. So it just doesn't they don't work all
Right.
the time.
Right.
So those are something to look out for, but. Making it make sense is probably the most important thing nowadays, and I think it's the hardest thing to do right now.
Is that what we should name this podcast episode? Making it make sense, but with a sense, like dollars and cents, making it make sense.
It could, yeah.
Podcast title and not
Yeah.
the whole podcast, just
Yeah.
this episode. Yeah.
But I think that for the most part, all of our owners, we have open conversations with them. The great thing about our company is that, it's me, it's you, it's Riley, it's Katie. They can get one of us on the phone within minutes,
And ask some questions about some
and ask
numbers,
questions.
what's going on in Nashville.
Talk to some owners that are dealing with larger property management companies that are out of state, right? That aren't boots on the ground here in Nashville.
Right.
Sure, they have some contracted employees here that are taking care of things for them. But talk to some owners that are dealing with large companies and find out how difficult it is to find answers.
Forget that. Go stay in an Airbnb in another city that's managed by one of these same companies. I feel like I accidentally get one of those large companies every once in a while when I want to go stay somewhere, and it's like you call because something's up.
Yeah.
I think we had some ants in a bathroom one time. I think I remember texting you, just be like 5 seconds in an Airbnb and here's the ants. And I call the company 2 or 3 times, nobody answers. Somebody finally gets back to me the next day and I'm like, hey, there's ants all over the place.
Yeah.
And like, I've got my kids' snacks in here and we're gonna, whatever. Oh, okay, well, we'll send somebody, we'll drop off some ant traps. And it's like, no, I've been to Walgreens. I got the traps.
Yeah.
Like, we're good to go. And I feel like I would never, like, if I get even a whiff of, hey, there's something up here, like, you're gone. Riley's gone. Katie is willing to, like, drive in from Murfreesboro. Like, do I need to take towels somewhere? I get that text all the time. Do I need to take something somewhere?
Yeah.
Like, we're good. We're not going to go 5 seconds without because your experience with us as a short-term rental guest, you're here for 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, if you're like,
If it
we
took
need
2
to-
out of 3 days to take care of the problem,
what a waste.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
We want to minimize that problem time.
Right. There was a case where we manage a couple townhouses that are there. We manage 3 out of 4 that are the same builder. They're right beside each other, and I've been trying to get the 4th. We've been trying to get their business for about 2 years, and I've tried everything.
Should we drop the address in the podcast?
No.
We're trying
No,
to
I'm
get
not
your
gonna do
business.
that.
We built a whole podcast just to get your business.
I've placed business cards.
Yeah.
I've tried to find them on Airbnb, and I have found them, but they're being managed by.
They're managed by one of the big guys.
They're managed by one of the big guys, and I've sent letters to the LLCs listed home address in California, and haven't received any return phone call or letter. But I sent them this last time, a picture of the backyard, and there were weeds taller than the 6-foot fence in the backyard.
Okay.
And everything was just overgrown, and you looked over, and I just felt bad because these owners are in California and they have no idea that their
Right.
investment property here that had trash piled up that I threw away for them because it was just piled up behind.
So you're already managing it for them.
Fence. Well, it was.
Do we need to send them an invoice?
It was a bad look for us as well, right?
Yeah, because we're right there and we look like we belong with them. We manage the 3 out of the 1. We look like that's all us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, it's just frustrating to watch it happen.
Yeah.
Over and over again. But they haven't reached out, so I had to let it go.
Their loss, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But those are the type of things, that I see often and that I hear from owners, and it's real.
I can't believe some of the stuff that people tell us when they call looking for management. Just like, you haven't been able to get your property manager on the phone for over a month to ask why the maintenance bill was so high.
Right.
Like, do you understand how I would not be sleeping if I didn't return an owner's phone call before the end of business, or at least shot off a text like, today's crazy, things are great, I'll catch you tomorrow morning.
Right.
And I still probably wouldn't sleep if I sent the preliminary text. That's my whole job.
Yeah.
Is to be here for the clients.
Right.
That's the whole job. Why aren't you doing it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for future podcast,
Little tease, yeah.
I started primarily as property management and short-term rentals, but we have started selling more properties, right?
Yeah.
And Boxwood is also a brokerage where we want to service the sellers and the buyers.
I know, that's like the whole point of this thing is we do so much. I meet so many people in the real estate industry, real estate adjacent, whatever, in Nashville. I feel like it's a major industry here. But it's like, you only do this one thing. And it's like, do you know that you're licensed to do so much more?
Right.
And or just with this little extra class, this little extra certification, nothing like taking the real estate exam, but you can do this other thing too.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you wouldn't if your desire is to provide any kind of service to anyone with their money in real estate, why you wouldn't want to do it all.
Right. And I mean, that goes for, owners and our tenants, right? I love talking to my tenants when they're first touring the house and letting them know that, after 2 years, we're done here. You have to buy a house, Because
Because I'm licensed to do that too.
I'm
Yeah.
licensed to do that as well, and just know that the way that I treat you right now as a tenant is
that carries through. Like, we can do all the things for you.
right.
Yeah.
So just know that the way I treat tenants and the way that we treat our buyers and our sellers, and why not be a one-stop shop for owners and tenants. You know.
All right. Hugo says that's good. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Okay.
Episode 1.
Episode 1.
We're here. Alive and well.
Oh, my knee.
We're going to run out the studio.
All right, let me.
Is the baby coming?
Are you having a baby?
We'll find out.